looky, I lied. Here we are. It's late Monday afternoon, mid-afternoon, whatever. I'm back at Sparta. Why? After what I told you, right? Why am I doing this again? Well, it's for a very simple reason. Well, there's a number of reasons, really. But the big one is I have kind of a serious question that I was left with, and I feel like the kind of bitter taste of the experience of that Second Peloponnesian War, having followed the first, trying to move it into the Theban War, which is what we're going to do here, may have influenced and impacted one major concern that I have about the scenarios, which is a sameness feeling. And I started questioning to myself, why am I worried about sameness, right? I mean, there's lots of games that I play that I relatively enjoy making the same kind of decisions again. And one of the things was that it felt like Sparta, who was in the lead, could do whatever the hell they wanted, right? They would direct to something, and Athens essentially had to react to it. They had no option because they would lose something too important, and there just weren't many areas worth fighting over. Everything had become kind of calcified in the game. And some of that has to do with the fact that Sparta was way in the lead, and some of it had to do with the number of territories that each player controlled. So I'm starting the Theban War scenario from its effective start point. Now I want to say one thing other than what I've set up already. I did the setup card here. Athens may place 2 influence in Olynthus or Chalcedon. Now, silly me, I thought Chalcedon would be near Chalcidice, which is where Olynthus is, and so I kind of had a hard time finding it until finally, yeah, there it is. Okay, I would have chosen either one. It doesn't make much difference. But Sparta places 2 influence in Chalcedon if neutral, or Megara. Well, let's take an option away from them and put it in Chalcedon, and therefore we force them to go into Megara. Is that good or bad? I might be forcing them to take the choice that I don't want them to take, because this will give them control of the Corinthian isthmus. But it reduces Spartan money, and I feel like Spartan money was a problem in the last game. You'll notice a few things in the setup that are a little weird, and this would inform, like, this is the kind of thing that I would need to have known already to kind of set up that scenario, the prior scenario, properly, and to have kind of evened out the teams a little better. One of the things is, hey, Sparta got to choose to attack Persia. Now I think that's part of the scenario. They get to choose to be besieging one of the places on the board. The megalopolis that was placed before, it's not on the board. It's back in the deck. So that's kind of a weird thing, is that there can't be 2 of them. And so my mechanisms for like refreshing the deck wouldn't have actually worked under the prior situation. Let me think what else. I don't know. And so we're going to throw ourselves to the first. Now, each player is going to get 6 cards. Yeah, I thought each player gets a battle card. I got to work my way through this. Each player is going to get 6 cards from the Corinthian deck, and I thought you always start with a battle card, but maybe that's just that first scenario that I did. You know, you have to remember, I did the first scenario. All battle cards are shuffled, give each player 1 battle card. Here, they're just shuffled, so I guess not. Nobody starts ready for war. I don't know how much that matters, right? Like they have such a... It's not like it means that both sides are more ready for war, although it may accelerate some of their war capabilities. It may also accelerate some of their political capabilities, so it's all kind of random there. And then first turn, since it's first turn of the scenario, we will be doing none of these, just like the first scenario. But when you do the transitions, you do those. How does that feel? Honestly, I think that those should be reset for the most part. If you look at them, let's take a look at each one. Hoplite reset. The army should be set to some value, and I think it should be the starting value in the scenario. That accurately, I think, reflects the two nations, or in this case, two different nations, because we're looking at Thebes, capabilities that are just sort of inherent over time. Athens is going to have a better navy than Sparta. Sparta is going to have a better army. In this case, Thebes has the better army. And that should be reflected, because one of the big things about this period is the Theban innovations that took place in the military. Similarly, shipbuilding, again, that's just going to modify these. Recruitment. What's recruitment? Rebuilding eliminated units. I think all eliminated units should be rebuilt automatically at the beginning of each scenario. Because again, look, this ended in 409 and starts in 395. When you're talking 10, 15 years to rebuild and reposition, it's why the political situation shouldn't be dependent immediately on the prior situation. It might be influenced by it. It shouldn't be immediate. So I almost feel like there needs to be some kind of more exciting little game to be played in the interfaces to make the campaign really work and stick to historical aspects, as well as, make the full game interesting, so one person doesn't just snowball all over the other. Now, the question here is, let's take a look at the pips. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for Athens, or for Sparta, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for the Thebans. So again, this enters into a very, very balanced scenario. So I feel like both sides should lose a lot of stuff, but what stuff and how that's to be determined and everything that's where it got tricky. And I made a quick estimation, letting people let go of their own choice of stuff. But first of all, the scenario had gotten too unbalanced by the end of the second Peloponnesian War, in order to allow anyone to kind of compete with Sparta. So it was a hopeless situation. Part of that is because the first Peloponnesian War ended up transferring all of the power that Sparta had already gained, right? It didn't end up a particularly interesting situation. Here, you kind of look at this. Okay, Thebes is a little behind, but they have a couple extra cubes on the board, which evens things out. I think that's an appropriate response, is to say, hey, lose some of the control markers and whatnot, but then the influence from both sides, but then the losing side would get kind of a balancing with influence markers that are more spread out. So they don't start with as much military power maybe, but they start with a lot of goodwill throughout. But again, it would take a lot more work than I thought it was going to do. And then the action cards are already dealt. at the beginning of the scenario, so you just skip that. Sure. All right. So let's set it up and get started. The big question I'm trying to answer here is, does the sameness of the choices between scenarios actually make a difference when we're looking at just another standalone scenario? Or if I could make the modifications I'd like to make, theoretically, whatever they may be, I don't know what they are, right? That would make each scenario more balanced within the campaign, but still keep some of the flow between scenarios. I have to say, I'm really not sure that this scenario should follow the two Peloponnesian Wars anyhow. Like, yes, it's a short period of time, but it almost feels to me that the linkage between the two Peloponnesian Wars makes sense. The linkage between, yeah, I'm fighting Athens. Oh, look, I won. And now Thebes revolts. It just feels to me like there should be some sort of whatever the transition is would be very, very different from the transition between the two Peloponnesian Wars, because these are not the same factions. Do they even look alike? I mean, Persia's opposed to Sparta because Sparta's the power who's trying to, or the apparent power that was consolidating the entirety of the Achaean world. And Thebes is the rebel here, right? Okay. Important factor, neither side is walking in, and certainly not both, with piles of cash. They've been on a peacetime economy. They're no longer geared up for war. 10 years, 15 years pass. Differences should be reflected. This should be returned. That was something that I did anyway. Sparta has a big $9. Thebes has 8. They also get the bonus of a battle card each turn, which is kind of interesting. So there's like two things with battle cards. You either want 2 of them, or you want as many as you can get. But as long as you don't want like 3, right? Because when you go into a battle with 3, you don't get a free draw. So there's kind of this consideration of how much you want to be prepared. Military-wise, Sparta has more allies everywhere. Now this could have been different, right? Sparta could have ended up in Chalcedon taking the money. Now they wouldn't have been forced to do so, and then they wouldn't have gotten the fleet from the Corinthian isthmus. I think this is the better choice for Sparta anyhow, but the truth of the matter is the two choices for Thebes don't really make a difference. Olympus here just does not give you anything, right? It gives you the same $3 as this. We're not going to see the grain as an event, but a lot of the cards are going to be similar. And let's take a quick look. So we look at this. This is a new one. The 10,000. Gain the 10,000 mercenary assets. Okay, whatever. But like this comes back from the Archidamian War, from the Peloponnesian War. It's the same card as that. This one's new, Leontiades. Gives them some influence in Thebes, whatever. Corinthian Schemes comes back from the Peace of Nicaeus. And remember, some of these, like the Corinthian Schemes was back in the first Peloponnesian War too. There's just not a battle for that. Of course, the Olympic Games. The Helot Uprising, which shows up in each of the wars. And then let's take a look here. Timocrates. Just envoys that are better. Trader within cities. This has shown up before. Kind of a nice card. Spartan Strength. Sparta draws 3 battle cards into their hand, then discards any 2. Ooh. So this is fucking weird. This is, I don't know how this is supposed to be used. This may be played at the start of a battle after drawing battle cards. I guess you can play it instead of, you can either play it as your normal card play and give Sparta those cards, or you can play it at the start of a battle and give Sparta another bonus intrigue, which we've seen before. Argive Alliance, we've seen before from the Peace of Nicaeus. Archimedean coin fund. See, I'm not feeling so well. This is the problem, and this is part of why I'm doing this. The controller of Persia gains 4 talents if neither player gets Persia. Both players gain 2. Great. So yeah, about how I'm feeling, I didn't discuss that. It was one of the many things I wanted to talk about. I got like a little cold, you know, and like anything goes even a little wrong, I can't do anything, you know, basically. So Saturday, obviously, look, I'm wiped out on Saturday. But yesterday was Sunday, and I was feeling, you know, particularly kind of sick. You know, just it's not bad. It's like a light fever, a little bit of sore throat, a little bit of sniffles. It's nothing too terrible, but it's like, and if I was working or whatever, I certainly would do it. But you know, I just don't want to go out, you know, and do shit, right? And any excuse I can find, I'm gonna take. If there was something cool, really cool to do, sure, maybe I would force myself and drink cough syrup all day or something to get myself hammered. Another thing, with the lack of, going back to the game, with the lack of control markers, etc. on the board, we don't have a hell of a lot of areas under control, which again means you don't have a lot of cash, right? You don't have a lot of cash, you don't have a lot of resources. Those don't, you know, that's okay because the other side is weaker too. We also have different elites now. So the Peloponnesian are veterans. The Peloponnesian elites have been turned into veterans, while the Spartans are not. And the Boeotians are veterans. So Sparta has lost some of its shine. I'm going to pause at this point before I actually start playing, because again, I'm not feeling too hot. Leaders are a little different from how we started. We got the Persia here. Hey, we didn't look that up. I bet it's the same as the other Persian siege. Here we go. Peloponnesian War losses. The Aetolian fleet. I didn't finish the setup. And the Attica cavalry would have to be rebuilt. Now, nobody wants to do that if they don't own them. First opportunity to rebuild them is turn 2 because, yeah, turn 1. We skip that. When the scenario begins, Spartan hoplite army is on campaign somewhere in Persia. While sieging the Spartan, and remember, you can't normally siege allies. When sieging, the Spartans suffer a -1 strength per turn, as with any siege, which explains the why they're not even. Because honestly, Thebes and Sparta were actually, even though Thebes had come up with some innovations, they were actually kind of close. Some of those battles, if you do the GBOH stuff from the Theban War, some of those battles are close. I think it's in the hoplite set. It's got to be. What else? The hoplite can be attacked by an Athenian hoplite, but will only be removed if Athens is victorious, as though it's a siege. The hoplite can prosecute the siege as normal, but never with more than 1 die, and without gaining the benefits of a successful siege. It does reduce the influence, but it doesn't change control. Forgot about these. There we go. Okay, so the fleets are even too. Wow. At the end of any deal action cards phase, there isn't one on the first turn. The hoplite may be returned to the player map. with Aegilius remaining in its command zone and so remaining mobilized and ready to march right away. Remove the siege marker and do not replace with a raid. You know what I don't see? I don't see an extra area going to the Spartans. So there's kind of no reason to do this except if you want to take Persia away from the Athenians. And the starvation card cannot be used against Persia. And the coup de main can be used to move Aegilius. Okay. All right. Again, we're going to pause for a while now. It's funny because when I'm sick, and I inherited this from my dad, I kind of want to eat. Like, eating reduces the misery level. And, yeah, drinking hot tea and stuff like that helps too. But, like, last night, late at night, I had a can of soup. You want to have some soup? Just stuff like that, like, it just makes me feel comfortable to eat. It's the chewing and everything. It breaks up some of the congestion and whatever. It is about midnight. I've spent the entire day playing Raid. I have a stupid mission to undertake. Anyway, I play the 10,000 card, which gives me the white shields. That let me... sorry. No, the 10,000. Sorry. I thought I saw the white shields on here. They're a different unit. The 10,000, and that goes into my elite box, and the card goes away. That led me to an interesting thought. This scenario did not start with the Skiratai on the board. So again, something that would have to be worked in is when and where do they disappear. I don't know what they are, which is part of the problem. So I don't have a context to put in for that answer, but I could look it up. But that's the kind of effort you would have to put into making the cross scenario go. This guy's conducting a siege, so we'll just leave him there. We don't have really the money to play around with that, and I'll launch the Navarch as a possible counter to Thrasybulus, which is not necessarily good, but whatever. He's got a neat little ability there. He gets to steal a battle card. It doesn't say may, it just says, no, he gets money for battle cards. Okay, that's fine. Money's always okay. Again, there's this weird thing where you may not want battle cards. Most of my other cards I didn't really want to play. So this was kind of a delaying action, although one that serves no possible harm, so I wanted to do it. Now, here we're already seeing that what I've kind of learned about the game, which is, hey, react to what the opponent's doing. We don't want Thrasybulus to gain something. And of course, I could always commit my fleet to do something on my own. However, the designer did point out, and this is a contradiction to my statement about, hey, it just becomes so reactive, is that, you do have the capability to launch more than one force per turn. But in the base scenarios, you don't have the money. It might have made a difference, though, in some of those follow-through, like in a second scenario, in a second war within a particular scenario, whatever, second deck. You end up in a situation where you've accumulated enough cash that you could actually play around in that sort of way. Anyway, we'll go on to the Thebans. My fingernail is... I finally took the band... I had it taped, hoping it would just grow together. I should probably super glue it or something. It was really irritating, but the tape was getting filthy. That technique really helps with is when you have piles of money, as we had in some periods of some of the scenarios, and you can just, you're finding yourself with more money than you need. You might want to launch forces so that you can do stuff with them before you run out that last card. Anyway, in this case, I played the Persian Silver, which got me a pile of money. Well, I still own Persia. And I launched a force here to Milos. I decided the Cyclades is the place I want to take if I can. I have an interesting card, which is if I win a battle, a hoplite or trireme can remain in the battle space. It depends on what I draw, right? I might prefer to just gain some extra money, which would give me more operations as a whole. Let's go back. And I mean, the game flows so quickly when you're willing to just play it, right? Kind of like a Twilight Struggle or something like that. You could run through this very fast when you're not narrating everything. And, you know. Probably actually launched Lysander with my first force because he gets this automatic wins draws in sea battles. I didn't realize that. I just sent my naval leader figuring, if he gets good, he's better at sea battles, right? Played Corinthian Schemes to get myself a favor. Favor is always good. And I'm launching my attack, which means we calculate out the battle odds. First time in this scenario that we're doing one, so let's play it out, I guess, on video. I don't know. So the comparisons are 0 for this, 0 for this, a 0 here. Nobody owns the Cyclades, so everybody's at 0, and we each get a battle card. Now, as the attacker, I have to play the battle card first. This one doesn't help me. I don't have a named leader here. So now it's on Athens, so I pass. It's on Athens. Now, Athens could just lose this battle, but I would rather win the battle in a draw. Hey, how about that? Sparta again passes. Well, now it's definitely time to say I get to stick around if I win the battle. And Sparta still doesn't have anything to play. So we have a victory there. Quick leader check. Okay. The Navarch is spent. However, he is successful in gaining a level. Put these too close. And let's just slide this over a little, give me a little bit more space. And then we had a death, which is Thessalus. Oh no, we lose him. Well, that sucks. And however, we do get to stick around, which means on our turn, we'll get to start conducting a siege. And this is important because it can give me the naval advantage. And overall, even though I'm Thebes and not Athens, I like the flexibility of naval opportunities. And the way the board's set up right now, I feel like naval capability looks a lot better. We also won the battle. Got to remember that. So there are the losses. A shitty place. Let me explain. I know. So I started playing the Athenian turn, played traders within the city to give me a bonus on the siege. I'm going to deploy the Navarch over here. What else? I don't know. I'm going to pay for the siege. But then I realized, wait a minute, I lost my leader off my fleet. Now, I know that that this has been resolved before, where the designer came back with, hey, there's X place where it tells you that the leader, if the leader is lost, you get to put an unnamed leader in place. But again, it's not under the leader fate, which is the only thing I can think of that would have it there. Maybe it's under siege. I've looked I've looked at other places. Let's see if under siege it says if the leader dies. Shit. See, I know that there's some place, right? I'm looking in the land battles, which is where the leader fate is, and I thought it was somewhere else then. This is one of the few places where I've found the rules to be problematic in conjunction with the index. Like, there's got to be some place where it says this because I remember it. Like, I remember having this discussion and deciding the leader was dead before, and I still, like, can't find it. It's not under leader tiles. Maybe it's under leaders. Named leaders who are eliminated through a game are permanently removed. The exception when a generic leader is killed, it has been spent. Fuck. Like, I absolutely know that I was called out on this, that there is some place where it says it differently from what I feel like I have to go back to my videos and look for the comment because I can't fucking find this in the rule. If the battle space was under siege and the sieging player did not lose, they do not return home. They continue. If the sieging player did not lose, mark the space with a raid. Fuck. This pisses me off because I absolutely know that I was called out on this. I'm going to go look through my video comments and see if I can find it. The reference, middle column of page 8. What is this under? This is under hoplite. Alright, if a commander is removed from the command section, which will remain in place, he must be replaced by another leader selected by the owning player. Any other leader. Definitely don't want to use him. I don't really know. I'll put the pole mark in there. Yeah, I knew there was a rule for it. It's just not in at all the place where I want it. If these weren't glossy pages, I would write in pencil. Let's test it out. So page 12. No. Where was the rule? Leaders. Leader fate is page 16. So let's see if this works. Under leader fate, I'll try writing it in. So we take our little pencil, and we can't even make a mark with it. Now, I could go downstairs and get myself, a Sharpie or something and manage to write on the glossy pages. But, this has been a common issue and why I complain about games being printed on glossy paper. Sometimes the pencil does write on it, but it's not very good. Now, maybe I can get it with a standard number 2 pencil instead of a mechanical. We'll try again. I actually tried with a normal pen. That didn't work either. But a Sharpie does work. And, usually I'm loath to write errata and corrections in with pencil. But in this particular case, this is just a reference to another section of the rules. So I'll live with it. Plus, I only live so long. All right, where the hell am I after all that, right? It's just not in the place where it needs to be, and there's no reference, and that's problematic. The rule book I'm reading right now repeats a lot of rules. That can be a nightmare if you're editing stuff, but I actually find that very, very helpful. I don't at all mind reading, hitting something, and then getting a reminder somewhere else. If you're not going to use numeric references all over the place, case numbers and all that that get you to the paragraph. Certainly no more than a few sentences of information. Then you absolutely, I think, need to keep drilling the rule in again and again and again. You can't write. I just thought this style of rule book is horrible to me. Okay, so again, where the hell am I? I don't know. I really don't know. I think I was going to conduct the siege. So we played this. We launched another force. And what is our siege roll? I don't think it's particularly good. We get no bonus for adjacent areas. We get no bonus for Navy strength. The nice thing is, I've already paid the money, I hope. I see I've got a buck there, and I think I had only 3s left. So chances are. And we get a success, which is cool, because we get another buck. And now we get control, which gives us the Cyclades. And now we go home. Now the Polemark had to be there, so he ends up used, which means I'm down to just a couple of leaders, which was going to be kind of the problem that the Spartans were going to face, was that Athens had a significant numerical advantage in terms of leaders. You can't do much if you don't have many leaders. All right, let's go on and do another card. Shit, I realized in all of that, I forgot to send another force out. Now, I think I'm going to have sent Ismenias out because he's cheap. And now we skip back over to the Spartan turn where I did the Central Greece envoy. Thebes decided I'm going to play in Boeotia, so there I played, and I have a battle card advantage, but it's not particularly useful to me, except that I sent Lysander. I could execute him, but he wins draws, so I'd rather not. Do I want to raise another force? Do I want to buy a battle card? Stuff like that. Well, I'm looking at a hoplite now. Do I wish to? Oh, this should be a fleet, shouldn't it? Fuck, I may have set up wrong. In which case I had too many fleets on the board, but fuck it. Let's look at the scenario. No, commanding army 1. Persia. Okay, cool. Cool. I did not cheat. So yeah, I got the choice of trying to fight a land battle against the Thebans. And we're again at even. I got an advantage here, he's got an advantage here. It's probably worth doing just to prevent him, but do I want to let him have more actions? I don't know. But I don't really want to let him have this action either. So we'll just buy that off. And that's going to lead to another battle. Actually, it worked out kind of interestingly. Athens had the advantage to begin with, but Sparta played, I'm sorry, Thebes had the advantage. Remove one of your influence from the battle region, or removed from Athens. To cancel one opponent advantage, they had the larger fleet advantage. That advantage is gone now, which means I can't use the larger force army advantage. Okay, I actually can, because that advantage wasn't counted. So I can get the battle strength back. He wanted this because of being able to win ties, but I don't think it's that big a deal to win the battle. There are advantages to winning a battle, which is that you get a favor. Now, Athens won the last battle, or Thebes won the last battle, did they not? Yeah, so they should have a favor right now that I did not give them. Where did you get your favor? You bought it off a card, or you got it off a card. So this is going to be another victory for the Thebans. Another leader check. Julius is spent. But this time, there's no opportunity to stay in place. Oops. Who's at Army 1? Lysander just got spent. Agilius should be here. Fucking a lot up, am I not? That was the Spartan turn. I think I'm fucking enough up. I'll play the Theban turn, and then I'll go away, because I just don't feel like I feel like I'm too fuzzy. I cheated. This was an Athenian, or a Theban pip, not a Spartan one, which I think instead means... What would have happened? I would not have played this for the home ground advantage. And we still get the victory. Both sides keep their cards. Okay, so the result is the same. I'm trying to figure out what to do here, but again, I'm not playing well in terms of like being able to assess colors of cubes and stuff like that for which player it is. Plays the Timocritus card and blows a favor, but gets themselves Corinth. Timocrates. Ismenius, he's already gotten his cheap hoplite. He's marching into Dechilia. That'll resolve control of Attica in my favor. Attica is a rich space, so it seems valuable. And it would also tie up the Cav advantage if I end up spending for it. I am building the Strategos, possible counter against this in case he goes somewhere. Also, though, he's out of money. I can go somewhere, maybe Sparta itself, to launch an attack. I have a card I don't want, this Spartan Strength card. And you might say, well, you should be trying to save up favor, but I don't have anything that's likely to give me favor, except battles. Battles are giving me favor, so maybe I'll get lucky with battles. But yeah, I got to get 2 of them to get rid of that card. And that's a high expense to dump a card, right? It's 2 favor, not 2 talents, if I recall correctly. And that's something I didn't tend to do, but its cost is high. What's the cost of discarding? 2 favor. Yeah, that's a big expense, and it should be. Like, the cards you want to get rid of are a big deal. And yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm going to put the card... Oh, I also bought a battle card because I had some extra talents. Might as well. That's one thing. Once you start succeeding in some fights, even that kind of snowballs, and you start getting enough money to get yourself... Like, once you start succeeding in making sieges and whatnot, you start getting some advantages off of it. And you can utilize them, right? The raid gave me 1, the raid gave me 1, then the conquest gave me 1. So that's $2, plus I, had a money advantage anyway for various other reasons. So I'm investing in troops. I'm going to stop there. Battery's running low. And like I said, I'm not thinking very well right now. We are early afternoon on Tuesday. It's kind of funny, I dragged the garbage down. And I mean, last week I felt like I was starting to kick into a state in which maybe I could do something, like go shopping. Honestly, not just food at this point. I need to get clothing. I need to get some booze. But also, I was doing stuff around the yard and everything. And then, I don't know, the dance comes and it kind of wipes me out for a few days. And then the sickness on top of that, just a little illness, and I'm well enough I should be able to do something. But just don't feel up to it anymore. All right. But I am up to playing this, I guess. I play the Leonidas card to send a lesser envoy into Thebes, take that away. It doesn't really change anything. Boeotia is still under the Theban control, so. But in launching an attack over there, it looks like both sides are going to get to draw a battle card. Who's in charge here? No advantage there. He's just the strategos. One thing that's nice about only having one leader at a time out, it's kind of hard to see who's where on the leader charts because these are so big. And sure, you can set them like this, and that helps a little bit. But I've been continuously having a bit of difficulty with that. Let's do quick calculations then. We're attacking. This is going to be in Attica, so there's no benefit for that. Military benefit goes 1 towards Sparta. The army strength goes to 0. Neither leader applies anything. I'll come back with what the cards show. Sparta opens up by giving themselves some skirmishers, which neutralize these and give us towards the victory. But Thebes has played twice, once dropping those mercenary skirmishers down, and then reducing an opposing cavalry. This is heavy infantry. It doesn't actually require that you have the advantage in the elites. I would be allowed to boost my point by 1, but Sparta's already passed. I've got another card that could do the same thing. They were willing to let it be a tie. They're still willing to let themselves lose. The options they have are heroic leadership, which they cannot play in this case. And this land is our land. I could give up the colony and get the strength point and make it a tie, but I'm already driving him off. I'm getting the advantage of holding, the advantage is holding that colony, right, rather than anything else. So this is going to be a Theban victory. Again, the quick leader loss check. It's 2, the strategos goes down, this goes home. Ismenius, he commands the first opulite, reduce the cost by 2 talents. He doesn't get any better. How about that? The only thing that I can possibly gain off of improving him is that now when I improve him, I get, a battle card, I think? I don't remember. That's something I have to look up each time. I almost always forget the aftermath of the battle now, for some reason. Thebes gains 1 of those, and we get a distribution of the battle strength, which just basically maintains the status quo, but makes it harder for Sparta to catch up. Looking at the Theban turn, it's kind of tough. He doesn't have a lot of great cards. He has the Argo alliance, which is fine. He can send a greater envoy to Argos. That's just peachy. Intrigue, which will be sending a lesser envoy because I only have 1 favor to to a hostile space. This is probably best as a late card that I could just put into a location and take control, say, of Thessaly. Take that away from Sparta. So that's appealing in that sense. But then I have this horrible Spartan strength, which I don't really want to spend 2 favor to discard anyway. But do I want to wait until the end of the turn to do this? At this point, Sparta doesn't look like they have no money, so they're probably not going to fight. The only way that I can make Sparta fight is by launching a siege of Sparta. Now, I have 4 bucks. If I don't build any more troops, I can get 2 rolls on Sparta. There's an extra die for attacking Sparta. I think we're just going to go for it, man. I think it's the move we want to do, but we don't do that yet. They do have their emergency. This is like the thing that's important enough that I might actually do. For, of course, they also know they have the helots they have to deal with that are in their own hand. They'd really like to have another favor for. Is there somewhere else? Well, you know what? This can be used no matter what. It doesn't matter that it's Sparta, so I might as well threaten the biggest thing they've got. This goes away. And what else? I don't want to spend money because I need those 2 siege rolls. So I think that's it for me. Spartan player, this is the perfect opportunity. I play the Helot Uprising, since those Thebans are in there. And then I will spend this. I don't know quite where to put it. Oh, it's money on one side. It's grapes on the other. Grapes. Let's get drunk. I have 1 leader left. I think if I didn't have a named leader, and I can place him immediately for a battle. And by having placed that, I get rid of the Helot Uprising at the same time because I deployed one to Sparta. This was sort of perfect. Like, this is why holding it's a good idea, is even if I'm gonna eat it, I might as well see if the enemy attacks my home city. Actually taking Sparta would be valuable. Knocking it out wouldn't actually have done much for Thebes, like just raiding it. And let's do a quick calculation here. That is even. The army table puts it here. Home advantage gives it here. And Sparta has more cards this time. So, Sparta played This Is Our Land. Move one of your influence to cancel up to 2 opponent advantages, then recheck the battle strength. Let me think. That may not be what I wanted to do. We were at 0. What advantages did Athens have? They had this one, so I'll move that. Oh, sorry. They had the skirmishers, so I'll move that to the side. And they had the army strength. So yeah, we've got it up to 2. Now, I can play the General's Fate, which might not be a bad idea. A chance of improving the Strategos. On the other hand, there are no named leaders involved, so it's a little less valuable. At the Bravery in Battle, I could gain 1 point, but that's not going to win me the battle. The question is whether I want to hold 2 cards with the General's Fate in the hope of impacting a battle in which there are named leaders, and there are more named leaders coming in. I think I'll hold, and we'll let Sparta win this one. And let's remember to do the advantages. That gets them their second, but they played the card they didn't want to play. And everybody goes home. Oh, we didn't. See, I remember most of what I'm supposed to do, but the procedure is, I don't know, it's a mechanical recipe when it comes down to it, and it's hard for me to remember such things. Well, everybody gets improved. I gained the talent because he is improved at the point that he actually becomes spent. And on his side, it's the Strategos. This is a very nice capability that will be hard to remember and assess properly. And what are we down to? Why is there only one? Because this was the Spartan turn. And there go the Athenians. And now it's looking a lot more iffy. I can go out on a raid and I can do something. Notably, I could take Sparta down, which actually would take the Peloponnesus away from him. So, by setting a raid there without him having the emergency desperate times counter, and he doesn't have it for the whole scenario, he used it in the first turn, so that's kind of painful. That gives me a lot of flexibility, and I think a lot of power to kind of do nasty shit. I actually can't, I'm out of leaders. I used all my leaders. But I can do something similar. I can play this card to drop their control of Sparta. And then I'm done. We go to the Spartans for their last. They get a cube in the Olympic Games, which is useful when you're passing. It's a great card to pass with. Doesn't do much, but gives you a little something. Nothing I can do. I have $1, not enough to siege. Finally, the Spartan strength. Sparta draws 3 battle cards into their hand. See, the way this is worded, into their hand, then the player discards any 2. Since they're already into the hand, I think this is definitely going to include, for the discard, the extra card here. Sparta ends up with 3 battle cards, not the number you want. The 2 they discarded each come with a cost that I didn't like. So did that local allies. Those are kind of more painful cards to play. A lot of the cards are just like, hey, you basically get a battle point off of it, one way or another, or you get the opportunity to gain a battle point by fiddling around with other people's stuff. That puts us to the end of the turn, and I don't remember what happens at the end of the turn. The Olympics happen next, and then the leadership. I think I'll just report back on the Olympics rather than play them out and, do them one at a time. Overall, Athens has gotten the most gains off of it. I do think that this system throws a little bit more money into the game than, well, I know it does, than the sort of basic design for the Olympics, where you're just rolling a number of dice and you have a choice. Basically, one person gets $2, one person gets 1, and one person gets the person who gets 1 gets the favor. Here, $2, 1. There's an extra $1 here. So yeah, I don't know. All right, let's not look at the pick that I make, and it's an Athenian bonus. That means both players have 2 favor. And we're moving into the Corinthian War, where Conan, and Pausanias, returning after a raid, send a lesser envoy to that space and remove the raided space marker. Weird. In sea battles, you have an allied fleet advantage count. If you have allied fleet advantage, get an extra battle strength off of it. It gives me a goal to work towards. You have a lot of these, enough of them that it's kind of hard to remember what you're doing. Like a lot of times you're just playing at least I find myself just playing the board, trying to, trying to pick the best place in terms of converting an area for when I go into the victory stage. Speaking of which, we ready to leaders. Both at 5 now. So I guess we were both at 5 before. Oh no, Sparta has this extra leader kicking around over there. Which is not an optimal situation. Now I have the option at this point to call him back. Let me think about that. Actually rather like the option here. At the end of any deal action card, it's very shortly. At the end of a deal action card, so I get to see the action cards and think about it. The hoplite may be returned, and so remaining mobilized and ready to march right away. That's an appealing choice. That's like $3 extra in my pocket. This is costing me an army strength each turn. I thought I called it back now before I had to take that impact, but I think I take that impact. Well, no, wait. Yeah, the deal action cards is the last thing that happens. So it's kind of funny, on the first turn of the game, you get, on the first turn of the scenarios, you get your action cards before you have to make certain choices, like setup choices and stuff. When you go into this scenario, or if you're moving through the campaign, like if you're moving through multi-scenario games, you don't get your action cards until much, much later. And that, again, I really don't like the dichotomy with the campaigns. Like, I feel like you should have that. Again, it's this thought of it's 15 years or whatever, and it's almost like it's a separate game that you're playing within a framework, the way I look at it, even though that's clearly not the way the designer designed it. He designed it as almost hey, the battle just keeps on going, That's what it feels like, right? And the events that caused the war, the various scenarios to end, aren't necessarily being reflected in the game. So it's not, so the scenario is just ending based on time. It's like, yeah, it's time for the war to end, right? The war lasted X number of turns, period. And that's just the time it is. This period of more intense conflict is just over because the time limits run out, which I view as I mean, you got to make compromises, right? But as a less than optimal choice, I would much rather have each war end, each scenario end based on some kind of victory conditions within the scenario, rather than just time limits up, how many points you got. Just, again, personal thoughts here. As to the big question I was having, I'm finding the game engaging again now that it's a close to equal situation. I feel like the choices that I have to make are freer on both sides. I'm not really limited to just like fighting over one city or something like that, which I felt far too often was the case in as one side became more and more powerful. Yeah, I would definitely like to see a rework, some kind of optional, expansion or something of the campaign framework to be something more historical and, of course, also more to my tastes. Am I willing to put that effort in? Look, I gave it the on-the-fly crapshoot attempt that I made and didn't see one immediately, which to me means you have to put so I'm willing to do an on-the-fly jury-rig type thing and say, yeah, it may not work out great, but if I can get it to work at all, it's kind of cool, right? But the next step, the step of actually having to like do the work to do it, it's going to be a fair amount of work. And let's be honest, I'm probably not. I enjoy this game. This is a game that I would like if I had a second player, if I had an opponent around, and there were times not too long ago when it seemed like I might have a single opponent or something at times. If I had somebody who would regularly game with me, this is something I would definitely pull out under those circumstances. It's relatively small, which is a definite advantage, It's hard to work the time in with people, but it's also, I think, an exciting. I think the gameplay is exciting. I really do enjoy the gameplay, and I almost certainly would not, unless I get around to like having that buddy of mine come up and just stay with me for, using this as a home base while he does travels elsewhere and whatnot. Unless I was doing something like that, I definitely would not be interested in doing this as a campaign. I don't know. The only reason for the campaign for me is that it pleases me in solo play. And then if I was doing that campaign, the question is, am I going to get to this again? And I just don't see my lifespan as being long enough, even if it's a lot longer than I hope. I just don't see my lifespan being long enough to get through the rest of my games. I've got too much that I have to do. I was just glancing at some of my games. I look at like Wings, Ironclads. These are games. I have the more modern Wings as well, but I wanted the extra components, so I bought another copy. I bought the original copy. I also, I don't know. I think it has more planes than that original, because there was an intention to split it into two. But those are games that, like, yeah, I can kind of show them, but they're really not games that are any fun to play solo for the most part. They're plot and movement type things. Wooden Ships and Iron Men, obviously. I have the other one, Close Action or whatever, kicking around somewhere in here. And it's just kind of sad when I start. Oh, there's the Athenian McKellar game. It's kind of sad when I think about that. There was something else that was not one of those two that hit me while I was looking over here as well. That was going to be just as painful into a game that really is meant to be played with other people. And now I'm just not seeing it or thinking of it. Maybe it was just in my head rather than right in front of me, because I'm not seeing it here. There's plenty of games that play perfectly fine solo, and I consider this among them, with its with its card deck and everything. But there's just so many that I bought. Ironclads. I loved Ironclads way back in the day. My first wife and I played it. She really liked it. I was okay on it, clang. But Wings, I always wanted to get people to play Wings, but I never could get anyone except my first wife to play it. Like, You know, we played things like Blue Max. I was hoping that we could get something similar with a Wings campaign, because to me it's sort of the best of that sort of genre. But Flat Top. Flat Top's another one there. You know, unless I have an opponent, it's not going to be a lot of fun to play. And it's kind of a big deal to get an opponent up to speed to play something along those lines for me. Something that even if I had gamers that I was associating with, again, I think would be quite a stretch. The only thing that ever worked, the only way I ever got games like that played was like if I had a captive woman. All right, let me do the stuff at the beginning of the turn, deal out the cards, and then I'll probably break. Now, since it's the first in the scenario and I've been away a little bit, let's go over the hoplite reset. So the strength started out as high and low. Sparta loses one for their siege. So we were like this. Sparta loses one for their siege. We look for megalopolises. Sparta lost theirs, so they don't gain anything. Thebes lost theirs as well, but they gained Corinth, so they gain one there. Shipbuilding. Nobody's got much money right now. Sparta has first call. Do they want to pay a buck to build a ship? I think so. That weak army strength is not a good thing. And that means we go to the Thebans, and theirs is a $2 cost. But I'm going to pay that because I don't want Sparta to catch up to me. And now Sparta could choose, look, you know, do I want to just keep a buck and fall behind or not? If they're going to pay their buck and maintain position, I don't know. I think it's worth a buck to stay close. That's what I think. Okay. Recruitment. Oh, we haven't placed the regions. Fuck me. So Sparta spent 2, both spent 2. Let's get back. The reason that's important is because now we're going to have money in a moment. I thought there was money. Let me assess the regions. Okay, let me just do it. Thessaly stays with Sparta. Peloponnesus stays with Sparta. I thought I was canceling it out. It may be that this colony is confusing me, or maybe this guy being so close to the orange. But yeah, that's staying. The Corinthian Isthmus. This is going to switch sides. And that means the Corinthian boat goes over to that side. And the Ionian coast remains theirs. Let's take a look at theirs. Hellespont stays. Boeotia. Boeotia actually is canceled out, which means those Boeotian elites are gone, or not supporting any longer. And it's kind of weird, right? And Thrace obviously just stays where it is. That can only change really by cards. Which then puts me to, let's take a look at any of these in the middle. The Aetolians not being used. We keep looking. Boeotia we just did. Chalcidice not being used. Attica. Attica stays neutral. Cyclades, though, will go over to the Thebans as they start collecting up a serious boat process. And now we gain the income. We did the chits. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, $9 here. I've already done the hoplite reset, which I probably shouldn't do, but it's fine. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a battle card. 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'm anal retentive about making sure I have the largest pieces I can. And I get a battle card, which is not optimal. Both sides have 3. Neither side's going to get a draw next time. And that's going to bring me then the Hoplite Reset, which we did. Shipbuilding, which now we definitely will do. So both sides are going to pay their 2 in the order that I showed before. But I just, because now it's a lot clearer. The spread is a little low on cash. And honestly, they're behind in the fleets in a couple of ways. You know what? I'm going to save that last buck. I think paying 1 and seeing Thebes move ahead, like if I could have tied Thebes, that was great. I don't particularly want to chase them up the track. All right. Recruitment. Ionian Coast. For a buck, I can grab another cavalry. And that's worthwhile. That gets me a cube here. Are there any others that are beaten up? I mean, there are, like down here. Oh, he was going to return. Giving up this siege. He was going to return. He doesn't have to make a leader loss check. In the other one, he had to make a leader loss check if he did that. Rebuilding, remove raids. There weren't any. And deal the action cards. It feels very strange to me, but it may be because I got used to the increase. So as the scenario continues, the deck gets bigger and it becomes harder to get these. I got a reshuffle of the discard pile going back here for the Corinthian War, which means those are all back in the deck, right? But as this continues on, the deck gets bigger and bigger, and the chances of a reshuffle, like the likelihood of a reshuffle gets smaller and smaller because the deck is getting bigger, the deck you're initially drawing from. Which is good because the new cards have more prominence, or more likelihood in that case. But then playing the extended scenarios, what I found was, at least with the one that I actually played out, what I found was that at least the way that I interpreted the card, the way the cards go back in, there was actually a larger deck at the beginning of the scenario. So you didn't lose, you didn't run through the deck in that first turn. And again, that might change the flavor of play, but also I might have been misinterpreting. Let's look through the cards, see if there's anything hugely different. Coup de main. An already deployed hoplite is deployed again, marching from its current space. Coup de main is usually when you try to take a fortress. Democratic Constitution. Athens must spend a favor. Athens must spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to one uncontrolled city space. Yeah, okay. Envoy to Megalopolis. New alliance. Not seeing anything new there. I think we got a lot of the big ones here. Okay, Pharnabazis. Controller Persia draws 2 paddle cards. Oh, we had the one where they give us silver. Yeah, so that's the only new card in there. All right, we're going to break for a while. It's kind of hard because when I do break, like, I'm both lazy and bored, right? Now, the boredom I can very easily overcome. I can find something to do to fill my mind and whatever. I can sit in front of the computer and watch videos, or play some Raid, or sit outside and read, or whatever. No matter what, I can find something to do. But you'd think that kind of boredom of like, yeah, none of these things sound particularly appealing, would mean that I could also say, yeah, you know what? I'll go shopping. You know, that'll fill a couple of hours. That's great. I need to do it. Or I'll go for, you know, something smaller, a walk or whatever. But if it's not like, I don't know. It's weird because just going for a walk used to be an okay thing for me. And now it's become kind of not. Like, I don't know. Like, it's part of why I live here is to be able to walk around and enjoy the area. But it's like I just don't. Or I'm more likely, out of all of the things, to actually do something somewhat productive and do something around my yard. But I don't really feel up to it today. I don't know. You know, I mean, after a cold, like my ear itches, my throat is scratchy, stuff like that. It's just like, there's just stuff that I know I'm not right, but I don't feel, you know, any fever or anything like that, or any real great fatigue. Anyway, I don't know. It is about 1:30 in the morning on Wednesday. Leading this life that means that I'm never awake during the day enough to really get active. I mean, I was awake in enough hours today, but it's hard. Looking through the Spartan cards to make the decision on what they're to play, I ran across one of them, the coup de main here. Play at the start of the round. You will play 2 cards this round. Okay, so that's weird already. One of your already deployed. Play at the start of a round. What is a round? I think it's each of these. So you do it before you resolve raids, yeah. One of your already deployed hoplites is deployed again, marching from its current space. So that's a little weird to begin with, and you're still going to have to play a card. You'd think it might give you some kind of advantage, but it's kind of hard to see what it would. If you position your unit wrong, it gives you an advantage, but that would be dumb. Like, why would you put it someplace you don't want to be? Well, maybe something the opponent does convinces you that you want to fight a battle or something like that. So it could be useful for that. Otherwise, you will have had to have started a siege. Now, what's interesting about this is you can give up the siege, which feels like the opposite of a coup de main, right? I've already gone into it by title that it seems out of place. But you can give up the siege to march somewhere else and do another raid siege sequence. And so it kind of saves you $3, but what it doesn't save you is a card, right? You're not going to get an extra turn out of it or anything, because essentially the unit that you're moving is eating this card, and then you're eating up a card for the turn anyway. Now, if you eat up enough cards, it's okay, but there aren't usually a lot of things that let you get rid of a whole bunch of cards, right? Like, sometimes there's some kind of functionality that lets you discard a card outside of, I'm going to discard a card instead of playing it for $2 or for 2 talents. Not 2 favor, damn it. Which usually what that means is you end up getting a turn less than your opponent. But if you're able to get rid of a couple more cards than your opponent's able to, you get turns without cards. So that might not be so terrible to play it if you're able to utilize something like that. I don't think I have that capability right here. But, and then after that, it says alternatively draw a battle card. I think that alternative is to the entire thing, including play at the start of the round. Like you play this as a normal card and draw a battle card. Otherwise, it would be a pretty hosed card, right? Like, if you had to play it at the start of the round, give up a turn essentially to get a battle card. Wow, that would really suck. Are you really giving up a turn? Yeah, because you're playing 2 cards. And you know, the effect off this one, it kind of neutralizes losing a turn. It's not, it makes losing a turn not quite as bad. It's not a super powerful effect. If you could play it instead of another card, it would be a very powerful effect. I think. I don't know. It just lets you redeploy. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because that's a weird one. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to hold that because I don't have anybody deployed. I have somebody ready to deploy already. Could I use it on them? No, because he's not already deployed anymore. He's back there. So I've got a few diplomacy type things that I'll probably pick one up. What I was choosing, I was going to choose the new alliance, and I'll do that. Send a greater envoy to one of these things if uncontrolled, and you can spend a favor to immediately resolve it. So if we look at all of these things, I have a few choices. Out of them, there is Megalohellas, Crete, and Thrace. You can't do Macedon. Thrace is already under his control. Fuck. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that. Like, why is Thrace over here? Is that set up? And if not, did I cheat? I believe I must have. Was that in the setup? God. Okay, Athenians. See, I'm not seeing them here. So did that just not make it over? Why is that fucking here? And shouldn't it be Persia instead? Son of a bitch. Okay, let's look through these. I don't see how Thrace got there, and I don't like... I don't know. I think I fucked something up. I'm going to put this here because maybe they had the new alliance last turn and I just forgot to put the disc in play. But yeah. So what effects could I get? Because I'm probably going to spend the favor for the advantage, right? Otherwise, I'd hold this till the end of the turn and swing it for the next turn. But I can swing it for this turn. Well, if I put it into Thrace and assess it immediately, the Thracian skirmisher would go away. Okay. If I put it into Megalohellas, I would gain a cavalry, but I already have the edge in cavalry. But if I put it in Crete and spend a favor, I get the Cretan, where are they, Cretan? Skirmishers instead. And that will actually swing this into my favor and then gives me a better military situation. Now I've got to decide a few things. First, I have to deploy him. In a land battle if you have the cav advantage. Well, I do. What does that do for me? I don't know. But let me look at my cards and try to decide where I want to drop him. Kind of running low on tea. It's a stupid time to come up, but, you know. I've got like an hour and a half away from raid. In my, I'm trying to think. I started at probably 5:30. So I've been playing that shit for like 8 hours. Yeah. So I'm kind of annoyingly blocked off here. The only place I could operate out of Crete, this would be one reason to maybe do Megala Hellas, but I don't want to operate over in Italy particularly. The only place that I can operate my army out of right now, because it is a hoplite army, is out of Sparta itself. And that means I can trace an attack into Argos. And yes, this is... I shouldn't have the Peloponnesians. I don't know what the hell I'm doing in this game anymore. I really don't. Okay. Because there's 2 here and 2 there. This is the beginning of the turn. And I don't... So yeah, I mean, obviously... I want to regain the Peloponnesian. But on the other hand, I could also attack something like Corinth. And I have some advantages that make it possible for me to get a siege there. But I have no fucking cash left. My army's gone. I'm in trouble. I'm going to send it into Corinth. I'm going to hold my money because I can't afford to put armies out. Not having lost this. Is that really all the money I have? Shit. Okay. Yeah. And we'll let the Athenians move. I thought I was flowing along pretty well, but I seem to have made lots and lots of mistakes. So Thebes absolutely wants to play the home garrison card to allow them to forestall the possibility of bad things happening at Corinth. I could use my emergency, whatever, desperate times. Let's pick a leader. That doesn't help me. So I'll put the Strategos in, who counts as +1 skirmisher, +1 cav in a land battle. Does that help me? Yeah, that'll cancel out both advantages. So I'll drop myself into there. And I'll move these over to remind me. Now I could have gotten a battle card for it, which would help me prepare for the battle, but I don't really feel like that's a great idea. He does not have the cav advantage because of his ability. So he doesn't get to use his the Spartan ability. And that means we assess the value. And we're in Corinthian Isthmus, which means the home advantage is here. The military advantage is for Thebes, but there's a 1 point advantage for the elites. Remember, these 2 are canceled out by the leader. And that means it's time to play some cards. Sparta opens up with gain a battle strength. That drops it to nobody's winning. They reduce the Spartans. I can buy them back if I wish, although the way my money isn't very good. Thebes had already played the General's Fate because I'm facing a named leader and I've got a bonus leader, so I'd like to keep myself alive and whatnot. But if we look here, can I win the battle? Because there's an advantage to winning, right? Not much, but a little bit. Remove one of your influence in the battle region to cancel an opponent advantage. All right, yeah, you know, I never like playing this particularly. but I could cancel 2 opponent advantages. What advantages does the opponent have right now? He doesn't have, this is not an advantage. That's a point of battle strength. What advantages does he have? He only has 1, the elites. So I would only get 1 point off of this, the same as that. Seems like a silly time to play it. This one is often appealing, just like he played it. Reduce 1 of your participating assets. The problem here is both of these assets are required. So I'm going to pass and let Sparta make another choice, if they wish. Now, I don't have the advantage. I could reduce my losses, and this is a C card. Holding 2 cards is fine. I'm going to take the draw, I guess. It's not like I'm able to stay, right? I'm not able to stay anyway. So the leader loss check is 2 dice of each. Athens chooses to live, and Aeschylus is going to be killed. Means he goes home. But Athens chose to live. What is that? That's a battle card. Ugh! I don't want a fucking battle card, damn it. I have 2. I don't know if it's wrong of me not to want them, but it feels so useless. But, so I gain a battle card from that, and what else? I gain a favor for winning the battle. My leader is spent, and I go down 1, he goes down 2. And this was the Athenian turn, which means I'm going to have to break. Again, I'm not thinking clearly. That may be what went wrong elsewhere, is I just don't feel like the game is hitting my gears properly. Like, I feel like something's going wrong in my head, and I'm just not processing it as well as I was before, which may not be very good, but, you know. Here we are, Wednesday, too late to go out and get food, and that's okay. I'm in kind of this, so I mean, there's these different stages of my existence, and right now I'm in one where I know that my life choices right now, just even on a very micro level, are not helping me at all, right? But I kind of don't care, and sometimes I'm really, really depressed about it. Sometimes I'm really anxious about it. Sometimes I'm hopeful and try to get a couple of things done. It's kind of weird, though, because for being in this sort of, I don't know, ignorance is bliss or whatever, I'm not playing a lot. I'm just doing raid, and I don't know. Anyway, we're on yet another part of the Corinthian War here. And I mean, you know, I should be able to get a war a day done easily, right? Easily. Yet I'm like doing a couple of cards a day or something out. And it's not like I'm really reading my rule book for the next thing. I've gotten through the basic rules, but whatever. And it's not like I'm getting anything done. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm watching videos. I'm not even wasting time, you know, effectively. I'm sleeping, which is kind of interesting. So there's like this thing, sleep paralysis, where you wake up, your body's like unable to move because you were in a dream state and whatever, and it's trying to protect the body. Although my family dog, when I was young, didn't have this. He would constantly be like, when he was dreaming, he'd be running and everything. He had some weird neurological issues, like where his whole body would like give out and stop working. Like he couldn't control it anymore. It would just, but, and that started fairly young, but got worse as he got older. But what I kind of learned is that, and I don't know if this is like, normally a lot of people apparently get afraid when they wake up with sleep paralysis. But for me, I'm fine with it. And I also have absolute will. Like, I know how to make it stop. I just choose not to. I stay in that state for like a while. And you know, maybe a lot of people do this and aren't really aware or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, let's get started. This is kind of interesting. I did not build a force with either side. What the fuck is going on here? I got 5 cards per side. Right, 3, 4, 5. Now I know they started with a force on the board, or ready to be used. But I'm kind of confused why Thebes would not have. I know why they didn't build one. They didn't have any money, and they wanted to be able to conduct the siege. But Thebes probably should have built an army of some sort or another. They should have prepared something. So I'm going to do that because I think, again, my mind, like I remember I was having trouble with my brain. I'm having trouble playing the game because my brain's not working right now. Like the patterns that I was used to with the game seem to have fallen off, and I'm just fucking up everywhere. Which means maybe I'm not really getting my answer, because if my brain's not working right, maybe it was working right before when I was ultimately bored with the game. Now I'm just kind of frustrated with myself. I think I'll put Conan out as a sea battle guy, because I'm looking at some places where I can get advantages, right? You know, in terms of changing the dynamics somewhere. So I could take this, that would get me Attica. I could take this, that would cancel out the Peloponnesus. Peloponnesus actually cancel out, it would actually grant me the Peloponnesus, which would be a big bonus. I could cancel out the Ionian coast. But it feels like I have a lot of options with a boat. I don't think that I have as many. You know, I could attack here. What color is this? This is red. I could attack here. Actually, I could do as many with a land force. Okay, let's consider then. I have a bigger advantage in the naval. The land, I'm facing this stymie in here. And if Sparta's willing to give me the initiative, which they did because of their lack of money, then it makes sense for me to pick something where I have the advantage. All right, now we go to Sparta's turn. The envoy to the megalopolis to get rid of Thebes completely, make it neutral. So now this is becoming more the Athenian alliance. And I'm building the Navarch, who takes less naval losses. So I should be able to keep the naval losses equal when I counter his boat move. Battle card advantage. I had 3 battle cards. Not a great place to be in. Well, I'm going to play Pharnabazis. Controller Persia draws 2 battle cards. If neither player controls Persia, both players draw a battle card. That would actually work pretty well too. So I'd be at 3. I'd go from 3 to 4. He'd go from 2 to 3, which means he doesn't actually gain anything. This is removed. And going into here. And then building myself a hoplite army. Why a hoplite? It's a good question. What was I planning on doing with it? Because hoplites are more restricted, I think. And I don't see a lot of places. I also have the naval advantage. You know what? I'm going to build another navy instead. I didn't buy another battle card. I kind of like the cash advantage I have. Spending on battle cards feels painful. And that gets us back over to Sparta. Could have chosen a different leader, one who would have given me money, which would allow me to do something in another turn. I'm really on the ropes here with Sparta. I wanted to reduce damages. I'm not sure why. For this turn, I played the traitor within the city. I'm not going to be sieging anything, so I discarded a card. The Democratic Constitution, which is a good Athenian card. For some reason, Thebes has it as well. I don't recall Thebes going full democracy, but maybe I'm mistaken there. The social side, so like the social side of Athens during the Peloponnesian War is sort of well covered. Like, I mean, it's touched on in, you know, your basic sort of intro to Western history type stuff and everything, and there's a lot more discussion of it, and a lot more discussion of Sparta and how Sparta worked, right? And therefore it kind of fits, it slithers into other things. Exactly how Thebes worked during this period, nobody talks about it. Like, obviously it's not innovative, but it wouldn't be innovative if it was if it became a democracy. It wouldn't be innovative if it remained an oligarchy. It wouldn't be terribly exciting if it was a kingship, although, you know, that would be kind of interesting, because I always think of Sparta as the only kingship out of these states. But, you know, the oligarchies aren't that far from a kingship in a lot of ways. Sometimes the same families kept power. And honestly, I'm not convinced, I don't even think the Spartan kingship is hereditary. So, and it's a dual kingship. So it's weird. It's just weird. It's not like what you imagine a king to be. Okay. And then we went for our battle, and we will be getting a battle card. Let's figure out what the points are. This is a fleet battle. Peloponnesus is uncontrolled. The fleets are in favor of Thebes. We're probably not going to win, but we can drive him away. Don't forget, leader gives me another +1. Yeah, we're definitely not going to win. Card play for this one's kind of interesting. Both players are they're not interested in moving the value. Sparta plays timely retreat. Your losses are reduced by 1. I'm already reducing my losses by 1. I'm not going to take any losses. However, the Thebans are going to take losses for winning. But they're playing the defensive works. They get to stay in the battle space. They get to ignore the fact that they've just been intercepted, essentially. We make our leader loss checks. And poor Conon here is dead. Which means I have to put one of the unnamed in charge, because we did look that up this time. No losses here, but 1 here. But we get to stick around, which is the big deal. Sparta was able to drop their hand to 2 cards. Thebes not really interested in dropping their hand because it's so big. You know, it's kind of a shame because some of the cards aren't very good. But this one was particularly useful. It means I get to conduct a siege, a raid and a siege next turn, which is coming up right now. And a favor to grab myself 2 battle cards. Got a buck for my raid. I'm going to spend $2 on the siege in a moment. Devoted another ship to another attack. Honestly, yeah, this is the most important. This is my last leader, so sure, whatever. I'm best at boats, so that's good. Just in case he manages to pull something out of his ass, right? This is a siege, so this actually changes to an army here. And I am building the last fleet. Now, I'm running low on cash, but I'm hoping the rating will get me enough cash to keep going, along with maybe, who knows what else. And that I get lucky. So, speaking of getting lucky, let's see what we got here. This is not a place where we're bonused. We don't get an extra die. Yeah, this wasn't a... See, that's the problem. Here we're going to have a bonus against siege. No, we're canceled out. We get an ouch, which I believe is an army strength drops by 1. And the siege continues, which is not optimal, obviously. We're going to swap batteries, get back over to Sparta. I do so, though. I swapped the batteries. This has swung heavily in favor of Thebes very, very quickly. I don't know if I did something wrong. Maybe whatever happened with Thrace, whatever, that doesn't feel like a huge thing. But it does feel like the game just swung from what was a fairly even place to a massive change. I am not going to finish this scenario if I'm going through the King's Peace and it's obvious that it's just snowballing. Because that is something that happens in this game. We've seen that already. But right now I'm pretty locked in, and I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing. Maybe it's because Sparta's getting its comeuppance here. I don't know. I like blue. It's basically completely handcuffed. I'm playing the coup de main to get a battle card. That leaves my last diplomatic card uncommitted. I can decide a little better. I couldn't make any kind of decision right now. Thebes gained a navy strength, which they immediately lost. Sorry, they did not lose. Lose an army strength. And we're successful with this siege. That gets them another buck, a little bit more time. The raid worked here, but I lost an army strength off of this one. And then, well, in between, my last commander went out to begin another siege, just in case, again, I have enough cash. Sparta's down to 1 card. Thebes has 2 left. What does that mean? That means Sparta will go, Thebes will go, Sparta gets a go with their missing card. Sparta made a play to get control of Boeotia here. Thebes played the Olympic cube and conducted 2 sieges, of which I don't think I paid for both. For 1. They got a buck for a raid. The sieges both failed. Well, at least one of them caused further army strength depletion, so they're weakening. And remember, if those sieges are still present, they reduce my army strength further, so I'm beginning to look militarily very, very weak. But some of these are going to get repositioned as things go. And the next Spartan turn, they have absolutely nothing they can do. They can't deploy any forces. They have nothing on the board. They don't have their emergency money. They don't have any cards. They're just passing, essentially. Which means we get this. Lesser envoy to a friendly space. I think the only friendly space I have is here. So we'll build up. It's like Thebes has withdrawn from the war, but their alliance is still going or something. And a point was made about how when an anti-war faction arose in Athens, the Delian League remained in power and remained led by Athenians, who kind of existed in exile, sort of. Like, they were like a shadow government, but they supported what was going. And then I guess we just have 2 sieges. That's going to cost me all my cash, but I want to handle them if possible. So let's go for what is that? Decalia first. That doesn't get me anything, and then the one on the Ionian coast, which also doesn't get me anything. Now, here I've actually taken control of Attica because that's a raided location under siege. It's not controlled. This one I haven't done anything about, although I should actually have an extra die there. And then I'll roll that extra die. So that extra die was for last turn. The extra die comes from Persia. And now I'll roll it again for this turn. Okay, so we did succeed here in the end. When I caught myself cheating, that was this one. And we get the big buck for that. Which still means we're going to be winning the Olympics, the Olympic event of least money. We took the gold and no money. Yeah. Least money, least region. I like that better than the names above them. All right, I'll complete the Olympics then. Each player gets one of these, so they have a chance, and I'll come back. Being on the losing side overall has clearly won the Olympics. The only thing they lost in was the least money event. And so Sparta gets a favor out of it, which is kind of cool. Again, I kind of like the mechanism. I don't know. It's just a mechanical thing. But honestly, is it that much more complex than rolling the dice? Sure, but not by much. It's a tiny bit more complex. And so that is the end of the Corinthian War period, which means we're going to be adding the next deck. From the King's Peace, we reshuffle the battle cards. We get a couple new leaders. Phoebus. When starting a siege with a hoplite, you can spend 2 talents and roll the siege immediately. So I think what that means is if you're switching from fleet to hoplite, you don't get 2. And basically you get 2 rolls in that first turn. And if Acrates in land battles, if you have the skirmisher advantage, you get a +1 battle strength. Well, we don't have that. Our leader are a little reduced because we've got a siege underway. And we're also back 1, it looks like. So yeah, we'll send this up. Reflect a little bit on something I'm thinking about though. You know, the game, again, it's designed for the scenarios, right? To begin with, which is, you can see this one's already, it feels like it's going tits up for the Spartans completely. And what that kind of means, and it's hard to recover once you start, you know, getting thrown back. I think that's all the more reason why the idea of a campaign framework, rather than let's just continue the last scenario twice more, which is really, you know, what I attempted to do. Let's just continue and roll it again and again, is particularly unpleasant. Like, I think much more appealing is the idea of, and that's what I saw it as to begin with. Give this rebuilding chance and an ability to equalize a great deal. Now, obviously, you could just play each scenario, And you could probably say, that's not that ahistorical, right? Because whatever the situation is, it should be close to balanced as you begin each scenario. I like the idea of a little bit of an edge going to the winner of the last scenario, even if maybe that's actually ahistorical when it comes down to it. Anyway, I shuffled the new deck in. This is a huge deck. We're not going to get back to these, I think. Certainly not within the King's Piece. And then I still have to do the battle cards. But like I said, I'm sending this up. But I just started shuffling cards and thoughts came to my head.